South Africa has a problem, and it's not one that can be fixed with more government programs or policy changes. It's a cultural problem, a moral decay that has seeped into the very fabric of our society. And at the root of this decay is one undeniable fact. We've stopped disciplining our children. Somewhere along the way, the idea of firm parenting, of teaching kids right from wrong, became controversial. Then suddenly the line between discipline and abuse was blurred, and now we live in this society where children threaten their parents with lawsuits, fight their teachers and go viral, and grow up believing they're untouchable. Our country is falling apart in more ways than Gogo Maweni's career, and while it's easy to blame the government, corruption, or load shedding for every problem under the sun, sometimes the real issues are closer to home. We've stopped disciplining our children, and the results are clear. A generation that's out of control, fueled by entitlement, and completely allergic to the word no. Look around you. Look around South Africa today. Students are fighting teachers in classrooms, vandalizing schools, and behaving like criminals before they even reach adulthood. Why? Because they've never been taught that their actions have consequences. When you grow up without discipline, you grow up believing you can do whatever you want without repercussions. Watch teenage pregnancy, look how that's going. And that belief is destroying our society as we know it. We've replaced discipline with hashtags like TikTok and parenting tips. And now here we are, a society where kids are raising their voices louder than their grades, threatening to open cases against their parents while live streaming their latest fist fight with teachers. If you ever wondered what happens when you spare the rod, well, welcome to the circus that is called modern South Africa. Let's be real. The old school way of doing things had its flaws, but it worked. Kids had boundaries, parents had authority, and teachers didn't have to worry about being KO'd Big Show style in a classroom of cheering students. Somewhere along the line, we decided to ditch all of that in favor of gentle parenting and open dialogue. Now we've got teenagers acting like they're auditioning for WWE tryouts in class instead of focusing on their math homework. It's time to address the elephant in the room here. This isn't about advocating for abuse or turning parents into drill sergeants, okay? I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is this is about bringing back the kind of discipline that builds character, teaches respect, and keeps society from collapsing into chaos. So buckle up, because we're about to dive into why we need to bring back strong, unapologetic parenting and why your kid's PlayStation might need to take a backseat to a reality check. Discipline is like electricity. You don't notice it until it's gone. And as a South African, you should know that better than anybody else. And much like load shedding, the absence of discipline has left South Africa in the dark. Without discipline, society becomes a free-for-all, where everyone thinks they are the main character in a badly written soap opera. Think about it for a second. Discipline isn't just about telling your kid to stop drawing on the walls or confiscating their phone for the weekend. It's more to that. It's about teaching them life's fundamental rules. In the real world, there are consequences for your actions. If you don't show up to work, you don't get paid. If you speed through a red light, you get fined. Unless you bribe the officer, in which case you might get a discount. Nonetheless, the problem is we've raised kids who think rules don't apply to them. You know what I'm saying? They've grown up believing they're immune to consequences for some strange reason because no one ever taught them otherwise. And now we are paying the price. Discipline is the glue that holds society together like a fist on a human hand. It's what separates humans from animals. Without it, you're just a bunch of overgrown toddlers throwing tantrums whenever life doesn't go your way. Long story short, obnoxious little brats. And let's be honest, South Africa has enough toddlers as it is. Have you seen Parliament? Let's talk about schools for a second. Remember when teachers were respected? When the mere sight of your principal could make you consider every life choice you'd ever made? Those days are gone. Today, classrooms look more like MMA arenas, with students squaring up against teachers like they're competing for a UFC title Conor McGregor style. Just recently, a video went viral of a student attacking their teacher. Full-on punches and everything, while the rest of the class stood around recording it on their phones. And what happened to the student? Oh, just a gentle slap on the wrist and probably like a few new followers on TikTok. Meanwhile, If a teacher dares to so much as raise their voice, they are met with lawsuits, suspension, and an exclusive interview on the ENCA. The double standard is insane. Students can act like hooligans, and the worst part that'll happen is they get sent home for the day. But if a teacher tries to defend themselves, they're treated like a criminal. It's no wonder why so many teachers are leaving the profession. Good teachers are leaving. Who wants to risk getting bodied by a 15-year-old while being underpaid and overworked? South Africa, you can't keep letting this happen. Schools are supposed to be places of learning, not live action episodes of Jerry Springer. It's time to bring discipline back into the classroom, not just for the teacher's sake, but for the students who desperately need to learn that life isn't a free-for-all. It's not Fortnite. You can't shoot someone and get away with it. Remember when parents were in charge? When the phrase, "wait until your father gets home," could send shivers down your spine? Those days feel like ancient history now. For example, when I was little, and I would be a complete nuisance, and my mom just didn't have the energy to deal with me, she'd just say the infamous words, "You do not want me to tell your father you're being a nuisance." And for obvious reasons, that would make me behave faster than how fast you'd run away when being chased by a pit bull. That's how it was back in the day. Kids feared their parents. The parents had the power. These days, it's the kids who hold the slipper. They figured out that the law is on their side, and they're not afraid to use it. How many parents out there have been told by their child, "I'll open a case against you"? How many parents feel like they're walking on eggshells in their own homes because their kid might call the cops if they don't get the latest iPhone or don't eat because they didn't do their homework? It's just pure madness. Parenting has turned into a hostage situation, and the kids are holding all the cards. If you so much as raise your voice to your child, you're accused of emotional abuse. If you ground them, you're violating their human rights. And if you dare to even discipline them physically, well, congratulations, you're now a criminal in the eyes of the law. This isn't parenting. It's a joke. Children are supposed to learn from their parents, not manipulate them with the law on their side. They're supposed to respect authority, not weaponize it. But thanks to our society's hypersensitivity, parents have lost control, and the kids are running the show. One of the biggest arguments against discipline is that it's too often mistaken for abuse. And yes, I get it, there's a line, but we've gone so far in the other direction that even basic parenting is now treated like a crime. Tell me if I'm telling lies. Discipline is not abuse. A smack on the hand for stealing isn't the same as beating your child out of anger. You know what I'm saying? A timeout for lying isn't the same as neglecting your child altogether. But try explaining that to keyboard warriors on Twitter who think every form of discipline is traumatizing. Here's the thing. Discipline, when done right, is about love. It's about teaching your child that their actions have consequences. It's about preparing them for the real world, where there are no participation trophies and no safe spaces. Abuse is about control and anger. But discipline, on the other hand, is about guidance and care. Again, tell me if I'm telling lies, just tell me. But instead of acknowledging that nuisance, that nuance, society has thrown the baby out with the bathwater. We've outlawed discipline altogether, and now we're raising a generation of kids who think they can do whatever they want without consequences. Spoiler alert, they can't. When you raise a generation without discipline, the consequences don't just stop at the family level. They ripple out into society as a whole. A child who doesn't respect their parents won't respect their teachers. A child who doesn't respect their teachers won't respect the law. And a child who doesn't respect the law grows up to be a sick adult who thinks they're above it. Look at South Africa's crime rates. Look at the state of our communities. Is it any wonder that we're in such a mess when we've raised kids who don't understand accountability and can't even spell the word itself? Discipline isn't just about raising good kids. It's about building a better society. It's about creating a culture where people respect each other, follow the rules, and take responsibility for their actions. Without it, we're doomed to keep repeating the same cycle of chaos and dysfunction. South Africa needs a reset, a cultural wake-up call that reminds us of the values we've lost along the way. Discipline isn't a dirty word. It's not outdated or irrelevant. It's a necessary part of life, and it's time we stopped pretending otherwise. Please understand, discipline doesn't mean turning your home into a military camp or treating your kids like soldiers. It simply means setting boundaries, enforcing rules, and teaching your children that their actions have consequences and teaching them what's right and what's wrong. It means being a parent, not a friend. We can't keep raising kids who think the world owes them something. We can't keep raising kids who don't understand respect, responsibility, or accountability. It's time to bring discipline back, not just for our children's sake, but for the future of our country. South Africa, it's time to face the truth. We've spared the rod for too long, and now we're reaping the consequences. You reap what you sow, after all. Now our kids are out of control, our schools are in chaos, and our society is on the brink of collapse. Look, discipline isn't easy, okay? It's not always comfortable, but it's necessary. And if we want to create a better future for our children and our country, we need to stop being afraid of it. Let's start raising a generation that understands respect, responsibility, and accountability. You need to bring back discipline not as a punishment, but as an act of love. Because at the end of the day, a disciplined child becomes a disciplined adult. And disciplined adults build strong, thriving families and overall nations. Tell me what you guys think. Goodbye.